crossed. If you stay unmuted, I'll stay unmuted. And if somebody would like to say something, just raise your hand. We can see you. And Mary can call on you. Does that sound fair? Thumbs up? Okay. All right, Mary, I'll do roll call if you want.
Okay, let's call this meeting to order. It is now 6:01.
So Mary Mosier,
Here.
Joe Morneau,
Present.
Claire Smith,
Present.
Colleen Marshall. I see Colleen.
I
know
got to
she's
get used
here.
to this. Present.
That's all right. Karen Corey, I see you. Karen's here. Tom Beatty is not here, and Lana Meston is also not here. So Tom Beatty, Lana Meston are absent.
Okay, thank you, Brian.
You betcha.
Has everyone had a chance to review the agenda, and are there any additions to the agenda at this time?
No.
Claire's
Claire?
got a question.
Mary, could we just add project review at some point?
Okay. Okay, anyone else? All right. Have you had a chance to review the minutes? Both of the work session and of the meeting?
Yes.
Okay. Any corrections?
Okay. Got it.
Okay.
Thanks, Sammy. Bye.
Colleen?
Yes. First of all, on the first page, under the work session, the number 1 where there's a list. It was written down talking about the new park in the Favreau development. I believe that's not, it's called the Weikert development. Favreau, I thought, was the attorney. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so that should be changed.
Tony Favreau is the engineer.
Oh, engineer. Okay.
Isn't it the Cobra Creek project?
Yeah, I think they're still calling it the Weikert project right now, Joe.
I was looking at the map you sent us, and on there it says Cobra Creek project, and that's what
Okay.
the nomenclature and all of the stuff that Alan Wells and that group has been sending around. So just food for thought.
There you go.
Okay. Anything else, Colleen? Anyone else?
There were just some little grammatical errors that I don't think are that important. There was one instance where you were called Mr. Mosier, but I can't find it right now. Oh, the other thing, on just the work session right now.
Yes, let's do the work session and then we'll go into the minutes.
Okay, okay. That's all for work session.
Okay. One thing I did not see on this was the worksheet that we did that was marked up on the wall. Brian, do you know what happened to that?
Yeah, we have it. It's in the file.
Okay, those
It's the
comments, as we had them listed, I don't believe appear in here.
No, you're right. We can get those.
So I think they need to be added as part of the minutes because, and it would be helpful to see what we had, the final outcome on, well, final for that meeting, to see what it was listed. So I would like those included. Okay. If there's no further adjustments or corrections to the minutes, I would entertain a motion for approval of the work session minutes. Colleen?
Oh, I move that we approve the minutes as corrected from the work session dated October 20th, 2020.
Okay, second? Claire seconds it. Okay, all those in favor, why don't you raise your hands? Okay, all those opposed? Okay, thank you. All right, and then moving on to the regular monthly minutes. Colleen?
Yes, the only thing I noticed was on page 4, we were talking about the September 15th minutes. And then it said that Ms. Marshall moved to accept the minutes and they were written because there were no corrections made. And it says the August 18th minutes when it's clearly talking about the September 15th minutes. So instead of corrected, as written, and the correct date of September 15th.
Any others? No, all right. You're talking about the September 15th replace the August 18th? Or am I missing out here?
Yeah, we had
Wanna make
already done the August 18th ones and we moved on. We did the August 18th and then we voted on those and then we evaluated the 15th, but then it said there were no corrections. And then we moved to accept the minutes from October 18th, but that needed to be the 15th. And they were accepted as written, not as corrected. Does that make sense?
I think so. There were so many minutes to go over at that time.
Well, I know, but
Okay.
they were just going in date order. And so we had already done the 18th. It's just a miss date and then miss word.
Okay, I think I got it. All right. Brian, did you catch that?
No, but the recording did.
All righty, as long as it's clear as mud. All right. Anyone else have anything that they saw on the minutes that needs to be corrected? Okay. I would entertain a motion for these minutes as they are corrected. Okay, Colleen,
I move we accept the minutes from the regular meeting of the Park and Tree Committee dated October 20th, 2020.
all right. I don't know who seconded it, but thumbs up from everyone. Okay.
Karen Corey.
All right, Karen, thank you. All right. Looks like, Brian, you're up.
We can go over the city administrator's report, but the one right below that, the bylaws to city council, we're going to have to skip that this month because I didn't add that piece into the packet, and that is my fault. I was going by the committee business and the city administrator's report, and I just went right past that bylaws to council. So that was, and just to clarify, the bylaws to council, Sammy had some corrections for your guys' corrections, kind of some protocol that she wanted to address, and she gave me that stuff. I just didn't get it to you guys, so that's my fault.
Oh, and Sammy was on here earlier, but she's gone now, so.
Yes,
Darn.
Sammy's gone now.
So, okay, so I guess we'll have to wait until next month. Okay.
Does anybody have any questions about the city administrator's report?
Doesn't appear to be.
Is Ann on here?
Yes.
I don't see Ann. Ann was going to talk about, Ann, are you there?
Here.
I remembered what you were going to talk about, and that was, I don't know if it's in your city administrator's report, but it was the Morneau property.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Sure. So as part of the water project, we have been searching for 2 years for a well property. And we were able to locate one on Stallings Lane, and that is the Morneau property. Joe and his family's trust own the property, Joe Morneau's trust. I need to say that correctly. The family trust of the Morneau family own the property. We were able to negotiate a deal with them for the purchase of the property. And the Morneaus graciously offered this property, but they had one stipulation that the city was able to agree to, and that was that they'd like 1 acre of park land set aside as part of the property that was being purchased. That property, that park will be named the Julia Morneau Heritage Park. And it will have some form of a historical nature, kind of turning back and looking back at the heritage of agriculture in Coburg. So the house and the gardens around the house will all be part of the park. That's as much as I know at this point. It will be, it's just happened. And so the plans for the park will take a while. We'll probably form a committee, and the park committee will be part of that. The heritage committee would probably be part of that, working together to design a plan of what that park will look like. It's a very exciting, unexpected gift that we got with the well property. And so we will be putting a newsletter article out, coming out in January, but we wanted to let the park committee know in advance that there will be a park to consider. And like I said, there's not a rush on figuring out what's going to happen there. We have some time. We'll probably want to do some grant writing. There probably will definitely be some funds available from the Cultural Trust or from the Oregon Parks and Rec. And so anyway, that's something that you can keep in the back of your minds and start thinking about how you would like to work with the Heritage Committee to start planning for that park. And I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
So
Questions?
I have a question. Is Julie Joe's wife? Is that
His mother.
your mother? Oh, that's wonderful. And where's the property?
It's on Stallings Lane, so it is north of town, past the fire station, or go past the fire station, the next road, and then go north.
Okay.
So, and the back of the property will be the well field. So it's a pretty sweet property, and it was exactly what we needed. But the park is definitely a bonus.
A whole acre. That is so exciting.
Yes.
I just got to figure out a way to put Joe's name in there somewhere.
We got Claire had a comment, and so did Colleen. So Claire.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. It'll be nice to have that. I just had a question about the size of the house. How many square feet is it?
Roughly 1,400 footprint. And the house will also come with a player piano that my mother bought when she was 15 years old, so like 80 years ago. And there'll be an old farm tractor, a 1947 Farmall that's going to go with it. And I've got a few pictures that have been gathered around. I got one brought down from Bill Judd, who used to be in Coburg. He sent one down this morning to me, and that'll go in there with the rest of the stuff. So whatever we can get. And then maybe now we can get all of the artifacts that we have stored in people's attics and garages and get them someplace where they're dry and safe and clean and not going to get destroyed, and we'll be able to keep them for a long time. that's the ultimate goal. Plus the barn has a huge storage upstairs, very dry, clean storage. So if we have extra stuff that's not in the house or on display, we do have a place to store it. So.
Colleen, did you have a question?
No, I just did a thumbs up. Thank you very
Oh.
much. That was awesome, Joe.
That is, okay. Anything else, Ann?
No, I think that after the first of the year, we will try to figure out what the best fit, whether it is a committee, is a subcommittee of the park committee, or a committee, separate ad hoc that has a little bit of both committees. We'll figure it out, but it after the first of the year. So we'll let you know when we figure out what's legal. Problem with subcommittees is they have to be made up of the committee. So that complicates things. We might have to do a separate ad hoc committee for the planning for this park.
One of the cool things about it is there's a real nice grafted apple tree here on the property. There's a huge walnut tree, and there's a garden that's got water and access. Everything is all piped in underground. We can have a community garden. There's a lot of things we can do with it. And of course, the big 150-foot redwood tree that's part of the property. So pretty exciting. I'm really stoked that it's going to a good cause and to a good community. And the family couldn't be happier than make this deal with the city of Coburg and be able to have part of it come into parks in my mom's memory. So I thank you.
Just to add a little bit more context to it, and talking about time frame, part of the negotiation of the property was we would give the Morneau family a couple years on the house and some of the buildings there. So we do have time. This isn't something we got to rush into. So we got some time.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Right. Thanks, Joe. All right, tree expenditure. Let's see, we've got park and tree goals, and I'm not sure how to go about that since we don't have our worksheet that we worked on last month. Was anybody jot it down or recall? My memory is not that good. Claire, did you?
I don't recall everything that was in it, but it seemed like we settled on 4 goals, and don't we need to approve those tonight in a vote because we couldn't do it in the work session so that it's ready for the council retreat?
That would have been ideal, yes. So I know one of them was to work on establishing a park and rec district, correct?
Yes. Some of these were mentioned in the minutes. It was just she kind of went back and forth as we were discussing them. So we might be able to glean those from that work session minutes.
So they weren't in order. They were just kind of sprinkled.
Oh, well,
in
I
there.
know, but if you want to try to fish them
Out of there. So that was one. One of them was funding for park acquisition. And I don't remember exactly how we worded up with that. Claire?
Yeah, that came up from when we were discussing the Weikert subdivision and wishing that we could possibly buy a lot. And Anne, you can probably weigh into this. It was my understanding that we needed a process in order to be able to use the SDCs to buy park property as it became available, and that council needed to approve that. Is that right?
Well, so there's a process. In order to use SDCs, things need to be on the capital project list. So we have to add them and then take that to council and have council approve it. Then we can utilize SDC funds for a capital project. So if you wanted to establish a new park, whether or not you know where it's at, and it doesn't have to have a name necessarily, but a directional park, then we need to place it on the capital list. And then at the same time, we would take all the capital lists to the council, both water, sewer, parks. We try to do it all at once. And then get the council to approve that. And then you can budget for SDC funds to be utilized.
Is that something that we need to, when we establish it, if we establish it as a goal, is that something that we need to write a name? Do we need to send that to council? Brian, I can't think of what we send to council to have it approved.
Recommendations? Yes, we can do that. Yep. Like Ann said, we probably want to do it all at the same time so we can get, your ideas. It kind of has to all flow together, I guess. But if the Whitecart development or Coburg Creek development does go through, then you'll have that piece of property there. And the timing's kind of right for planning commission to approve that development. And then we go into the budget season in February. So that's about the right time to take something in February, probably won't be in January, to council to add to the capital list. So then we can add it to the budget and move STCs. The current balance of STCs in the park. And how does that work with the development? STCs come in after, correct?
Right.
Or is it okay?
So it probably wouldn't happen that fast. I mean, I'd love to say it could, but when we're updating an STC capital list, it's going to take a couple months. And so I would say what you want to do is put it into your goals for next year, so that so updating the park capital list is a goal. And then with whatever you want to put underneath it, and then we can take that, and because I know we'll have others, Brian, to add.
Mm-hmm.
So we just don't want to do it too often because it is some work. And we have to send it out to a third party because there's some computations analysis that have to be done. So we want to do it all at the same time. So I would say that we could probably get it done by March, and certainly in time for budget season if there's money there. But there wouldn't be a ton of money until they start selling those lots and we start collecting SDCs, unless something else moves first, something that we don't expect. So
Claire?
Yeah, my question is, do we need to come up with a tentative dollar amount? Because like one of the concerns is it seems like lots go so fast in Coburg that, like I'm thinking of the Pettit property. I mean, that got snatched up before it really even hit the market. And so it would be, do we need to have a tentative dollar amount in there for lot sizes or what?
you need to have a tentative dollar amount for the park. Usually there's a dollar amount of what we're saying that's going to be spent. And it doesn't have to be exact, but it needs to be listed.
Karen?
Okay, so I'm a little confused. Can you catch me up? So it seemed to me like they had given us a lot already with the Whitecart subdivision, what do you call it? The Coburg Creek subdivision. So are we also talking about acquiring another parcel with that?
That kind of went back to the drawing board. And I don't know that that's kind of what prompted this discussion, but I'm not sure that we're ready to designate a particular park for this yet. I think we need to leave that part open where it's, correct me if I'm wrong, Ann, but to update the park capital list with a dollar amount and not necessarily designate a particular lot.
Yeah, you're gonna want, so that, it has to be added because it's gonna be parkland donated. So it has to be added. The amount you would put on it is what's it gonna take to bring the park to whatever it is you want. So if there's another park, then you would want to add that too at the same time. So it sounds like there's another park outside of that. Okay.
Because we kind of were talking about a park in the south part of Coburg, if we could find a lot and buy a lot, and because there is no park down in this part. And at this point, we don't know what's going to happen with Weikert, when they develop that other section, if they will go ahead and give a lot at that time. And maybe that will, the park committee may decide that that's enough in that area. So I'm a little hesitant to designate a place in particular, maybe an area, but maybe not a particular park or subdivision.
So you could definitely just put a south end park, just south end of town park. The indication that I got from the Weikert where they were going to donate this parkland, and then when they opened up the other section, they were going to donate money instead of land.
I wondered.
Yeah, that was their intention. So.
Claire?
So I'm curious as far as the dollar amount, because, the Weikert, Karen, you're right. The Weikert discussion did bring it up because we didn't have the money to purchase an extra lot. We didn't have that process. But as far as a South End park, if we need a dollar amount, would it be reasonable to say, an average lot, or, a lot on the South End, if someone sells it, it'd be maybe 125,000 and then 50 for improvements. So 175 to $200,000 amount sound reasonable?
That's what I was thinking. 200. I would put 200. You don't have to spend it. So.
Is it necessary to put in what we're looking for, size or anything like that? And do we want a quarter acre, half acre, acre? Is that important, or just a dollar value?
I need to look at what's listed. I think, do you remember, Brian? I think it's just the dollar amount. On our list is the capital improvement, the dollar amount, and how much is SDC eligible.
Right.
That's on our list.
Right.
And a new park is 100% eligible.
Right. So if you said north, let's say you put $200,000 down for a north end park and $200,000 down for a south end park, they're both on the capital list. You don't necessarily get to build both of them. If there's money, you could build both of them, but you could choose one or the other to build at that time, right, Ann?
Yeah. And just keep in mind that the Johnny Diamond Park was donated and we still spent 274?
Yeah, it was somewhere around there, 280.
Around there. So, I would say, number one, it can be on that list forevermore. We don't have to take it off.
Right.
We have to make sure it gets on. But you could even put 300,000 on each of those. And if you don't spend it, you don't spend it. But at least it's there. You can't put 100,000 and then spend 300,000. So I would encourage you to think about what you want if you got the park. And
I believe in the master plan now, in the capital, there is a North End Park. So I believe that one's taken care of.
Yeah.
As far as being listed. So if you wanted something on the south end, that's what we would have to add.
Was there a dollar value on the north end that she's asking for? That's a little different than the master plan, Brian.
No, in the master plan, it does list out capital, and it does, I believe it does have dollar values, but those values are, I think we adjusted those when we updated the master plan. So, it's always about 3% inflation.
So if I get this right, what I think you're saying is we don't need to include the north end. It's already
think we-
covered in the master plan.
I believe it is. I can check that out, Mary. But I'm almost certain that in the master plan we spelled out that there would be a north end park, and what that north end park looked like, whether it was a community park, a neighborhood park. I don't recall that.
I think we had a north end community park. Is that right, Joe?
There was a North End Community Park, but didn't Claire, when we redid this, Claire brought up a South Town Park, and I think we put it in the master plan. I think we need to go back and check before we beat this dog to death and find out that it's half done.
And I guess my concern is if it's listed in there, what we were trying to do was establish an area for a fund so we could buy park spaces. If it's just listed in there, is that enough? Or do we, okay, so we still need to list this, go to council with a recommendation for a capital project to be included in it. So I think we, going back to the original, we still need to do this.
So
Right,
on-
but
One of
all
our
I'm saying,
goals.
all I was saying is that it has to be in the master plan before we can take the next step, because it's a capital project. So
So
if
I
we
guess,
master plan, then we can take the next step and request council allocate SDCs of X number of dollars to go towards those projects.
Okay.
Correct, Ann?
Yeah, I'm looking at what's on the capital plan right now, and this is for SDCs. And you have a south side neighborhood park, and there's no address on it.
Yeah.
And it says $332,000, 500. I don't know where that dollar amount came from. And then you have a north side park. That is 332,500, but I'm not really sure that that we didn't end up utilizing that for Johnny Diamond. That's my wonder, because there's no Johnny Diamond on here.
The money wise.
Need to look at that.
That makes sense.
so I guess my thought is to go back to this. We still need to put it in as a goal.
Yeah.
Okay, Karen?
So we need to put both the park and also the dollar amount for the south side, and then also for the north side, since it sounds like they are going to donate a piece of their first subdivision, and then their second subdivision, they're going to donate money. So we would want to set aside money for the park that's already been or going to be donated, plus more to acquire more land on the north side. What do you think about that?
I think that the idea here is you have this pot of money, and it doesn't say you have to spend it on a particular park.
I see.
But if it's there for a north side park, and we decide that Weikert development is a place you want to buy another lot, that might be an option. Or if you decide that you don't want to and you want to hold on to that money and let it grow and look to the future for a community park, then you can do that. Joe?
I'm questioning this Wisec, Cobra Cherry Creek, whatever the heck you're calling it, this new development really doesn't compensate for the North Park that we put in the master plan. They're two different projects, people. They don't coincide. They've got to be separate, because the community park that we talked about was much larger than this postage stamp that they're putting in this little housing development. We're talking about a big community park is what was in the master plan, unless I've not remembering what we wrote, 20 years ago, but I think.
No,
I'm right.
that's right. And there wasn't a Weikert Park when the master plan was developed. Even
Yeah,
when
see,
we went back and reviewed it, there wasn't. And I guess I'm saying, don't name a particular park, just give an area, north side, south side.
So
Okay,
one more question. So I think I remember there being like the idea of having a big soccer field, kind of those kind of things. So that would probably entail more than 300,000, wouldn't it? If we were going to buy that much property?
If you're going to buy 25 acres, yes, definitely, without a doubt.
Claire?
I guess what I remember from the master plan is that the master plan states we should have a South End Park and a community park. Those are the only two left that we haven't fulfilled as far as the master plan.
Correct.
And the reason I brought it up was not necessarily to be able to buy $500,000 worth of property unless we decide that's what we need for a community park if it becomes available. So maybe we want to word it where instead of a north side park, we look at a dollar amount for a community park and then a dollar amount for a south side park, since they're very different.
On that note, I got one other quick question for Ann. Since we're going to be developing another park on the north side that we just acquired tonight, should money be set up for going to that project too?
Yeah, that
I think
project,
that's a key importance because that's an already park we already got to work on, guys.
yeah, that needs to be added. You have a community park in here that for $855,000, as well as the north side and south side parks.
Okay, that's what we wanted. Then we're good. You good with that, Mary? Does that make sense to you?
Just want to make sure that if I want to make sure that it gets in the capital project, so it's covered. And that money can be funneled in there if there's money to funnel.
That's the
So
key. If there's money left.
always looking for a place to, stash extra money for a park if we need it. Because if we don't start putting it somewhere, even if it's a little bit, we're never going to have enough to do anything with. So if the master plan covers it and we don't have to do anything, fine. But I kind of get the feeling that we still need a recommendation for a capital project. Am I incorrect, Ann? Or is that something that's covered in the master plan and we don't have to do anything further if we want to set up a line item in the budget and say, okay, this is money for future parks?
If you want to build a park in the next 5 years, if you wanted to include any kind of park capital projects in the next 5 years, you want to put it in your goals because that's what drives the budget.
Okay. So we need the correct wording on how to write that goal. So can you help me with that on how to write that goal so we get it correct?
I can, yeah, absolutely. I would say decide on what it is you're thinking you're going to develop in the next 5 years, or hope to develop. Yeah. It doesn't need to be hard. It just needs to be a recommendation to develop a South Side Park. And what is it that you want in that park? Or it's a community park.
Claire?
So it seems like as a goal, what we want to do is that we want to our goal to recommend to council to be, say, $250,000 for land acquisition for a South Side Park. Because it wasn't necessary, we weren't talking about the improvements because we can use SDC monies to create the park. But the problem was having the money process set up so that if so-and-so decides they're selling a big lot and it's on the south end of town, we can hop in there and make an offer and we've got a certain amount of money we can deal with. So I wasn't thinking of, improvements or anything. It's just we need that line item or whatever it is in there where if we go to council and say, there's a lot on the market, we'd like to make an offer, we would like to use this money for that purpose. So maybe if we did it at 250,000, like you said, if we spend it, great. If we don't, great, it can carry over. And I think concentrate now on a South End Park for that amount. And then maybe we also want another part B of the goal to be, if we're looking at a community park, that we ask for $400,000 or whatever $1,000 that would be used strictly for the purchase of land for a community park.
Except if we limit to land, then are we limiting, because that would limit what we could use it for. If you put in there to buy land, you can't use it for development of a park if the land gets donated. It only can go for land. Is that correct, Ann?
No, I think that for the development of a park, it can be to purchase the land, it can be to develop the park. That doesn't have to be decided at this point.
But you need a dollar amount and say development of a park, but not purchase of land. Is that what, I mean,
Yeah, I would say purchase of land and development of a park. I would
list
say,
of both.
yeah, list of both. That way you're covering your bases.
Okay,
Thank you. Ann.
Karen,
So what Ann just read was we have 325 and 50 cents or whatever it was for a Southside Park, 300,000 and something for Northside Park, and 800,000 something for a community park. So what else are we talking about that we need?
Those are in the master plan, Karen, that we set up when we redid the master plan. Now what we're talking about, for example, Brian just gave us a sheet that says there's 127,000 in SDCs left over. What we want to do is make a recommendation to council that if we do
Okay,
get in a
okay.
situation that money is available to make this step moving forward.
I
Is
get
that
it.
correct?
Okay. This is a different place we're putting it.
We're talking like 3 different venues all in one time, and we're trying to combine them. We can't. That's what
Right.
Ann's trying to tell us.
You have your master plan, you have to have that. And then you have your SDC capital list. You can't spend SDC funds unless your capital are on that list. And that list should coincide with your master plan. And so if you update one, you should think about updating both. And then your recommendation and budget is actually when the rubber hits the road. So the first two are planning, and the third one is when the rubber hits the road. And we actually start creating a budget and development of the park.
I see. So we would want to, why wouldn't we just put the 300,000 in instead of 250? I mean, why don't we just match what's in the master plan already?
You can.
Claire,
So in just trying to adopt this as a goal and get the wording, my thought was we need to create the process to purchase land, parkland. So Ann, if you can help us with the wording so that we don't get too much in there.
Okay. Do you need that tonight? Are you looking for it right now, or are you looking for it?
well, if we're going to approve those goals tonight, not too much pressure, yes?
I would just say, create a process for the planning, the planning, approval, and development. Let's see, just let me write.
Okay, we'll give you a few minutes and then I'll ask if anybody remembers any of the other two goals.
You want to cover your bases. So let me think about this for a minute. Go.
Okay, while you're thinking about it, does anybody remember, or Colleen, did you look through the minutes to see what we came up with for the other two goals that we had on there?
Well, one that I had been asking for is that we need, and we did, I thought, put it on the list to establish a tree subcommittee. If everybody still wants to have that as a goal, I think it's quite important.
And I think there was one also for volunteers, wasn't there?
Yes, there was.
Yes, it was how to establish a committee or a community volunteer base for park enhancement. So that's a goal, is how, work on doing that somehow.
I'm trying to write these down as you go. How to establish a community volunteer base.
just not how to. I mean, it's a goal to establish
Excuse me, okay.
some sort of a community volunteer base. And I just feel like goals are supposed to be more broad, and then we specify them later on. I mean, as far as how we want to go. But what
So-
we'd like to do is have some community volunteers, not just the committee members working on park enhancement.
Is there a better way to say that other than a base? Establish a community volunteer base?
I don't know.
So I have established park and rec district. We'll do the capital project. And then establish a tree subcommittee and establish a community volunteer base. Is that the 4 you guys want to go with? Yes, Claire.
Mary, as far as the Park and Rec District, I think when we talked about it, obviously we aren't going to establish one right away. I think the goal was to begin to research the formation of a Park and Rec District.
I think you're right. Do you want to call it district? Research a park and rec district?
Yeah, it has to be district because it's going to require a tax base, and for a tax base, I believe you have to be a district.
Okay. All right. And you're back. Do you have it written?
How about create a process for the future purchase, planning, and development of parkland?
Future planning approval. Let's see.
Create a process for the future purchase, planning, and development of parkland.
I'll make that a motion.
You doing just on that one, or do you want to do all 4 of these goals at once?
You can do them all together. I don't care. That's fine. Yeah.
Okay. You want me to read them through again, or do you think we've got them? Okay.
I have 5. Which, can you read your 4 again?
Okay. Research a park and rec district.
Okay.
Number 2 is create a process for future purchase, planning, and development of parkland.
Okay.
Number 3 would be establish a tree subcommittee. And 4 is establish a community volunteer base.
Okay.
So did you have another one? No, okay. All right. Joe?
So moved. It's a motion. Exactly what you just said.
I need a second. All right, Claire, you second it? Okay. All those in favor, raise your
Aye.
hand. All right, we have our goals for the year. I'll just unplug. Yay. Okay, moving on. That didn't take too long. Tree expenditures.
I'll try and run through these real quick. There's a page in there that has street tree fees and maintenance. It's kind of a breakdown year by year. You guys wanted this about this time every year. So from 2008 to 20, and it just gives you the running tally, and then the balance is what's left over. Balance at 12/1/20 is $13,000.
Any questions? Okay. And
I
tree
also-
revenues. Okay, go ahead, Brian.
I also included some of the invoices from this year for tree trimming and removal. hopefully they're kind of not willy-nilly through your packet like they are mine, but anyway, you can see that it is fairly expensive to take out trees. So, and the crew does do trimming. We were able to, what we've gleaned off of Bruce over the last few years, we've put to use. So we've actually done some trimming ourselves on some of the maples, and then had Bruce come back and take a look at the work we've done. And he's given us thumbs up and said, good job, you guys are doing pretty good. And that's just stuff we can reach.
Claire?
Brian, I just want to say the breakdown was really helpful. And what surprised me the most was how many trees have been dealt with and how much we still have left. And it just seems like a huge leap from where we were in the past. I mean, a lot gets done and we still have tree budget left, as opposed to the years when we went way over and everything was still falling to the ground. So
Yeah.
good job. Thank you.
Yep. So, yeah, just to build on that just a little bit, you know, knock on wood, we don't have a giant storm, because that could, you know, wipe that budget out fairly fast. But we really have been fairly diligent on what we take out, what we trim. We've been able to kind of identify some of those trees that may not be in the city right away. So that's helpful too. So we're trying to really build a program that people, what's the right way to put this? That people can see what their money's getting, I guess is the best way to put it.
Okay.
Any other questions about that?
All right. It shows the revenues on there. So,
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
all right. The last I heard on the development, actually it went to planning. It hasn't gone to planning. It goes
Tomorrow.
tomorrow night. Yeah, everything got delayed a month, so it's going to planning tomorrow night. So that's interesting. I hadn't heard about what they were going to do with the other section of it. So they're thinking dollars rather than land. So we'll end up with a smaller park in that area, but it is centered, which is a nice thing. So anything else, Anne, that committee should be aware of?
No, there was a question. I was on a phone call this week and there was a question as to whether or not the park committee had any kind of a comment they wanted to make for the planning commission. And I just forwarded your email, Mary, that you sent out to the committee.
Okay.
So that they had the exact verbiage that you weren't going to submit anything as a committee, but if individual members wanted to appear or provide comment, they could. And so that's what I provided to them.
Follows right what we had. So, all righty. And Tom's not here and Lana's not here. About Jacob's Forest, they went up, from what I could tell, the grasses aren't planted, but the trees are planted and it looked like the grass got taken out and the chips got put down. So that's all good. So yay, thank you. Yes.
Mary,
Right.
Mary, I did talk to Tom a little bit this last week. He does plan on putting some more loam in around the sign. And just so you guys know, we couldn't go get the last load. So Tom took his truck out there and he and Lana were doing some work. Well, for some reason at Rexius, they didn't put it on our account and Tom ended up paying for that load of loam. It wasn't very much, but we really don't like to see that. I mean, heck, that's an expense that we're supposed to cover, not you guys. So anyway, it was like $13, I think, but we just don't like that to happen. So I've talked to Tom. I don't think that's going to happen again, but he may be going out and getting another load, or we may be waiting until Public Works can actually do that for him.
Not very much alone for a big dump truck, so.
Right.
Okay, Colleen?
Just real quick about Jacob Spores. I think you've noticed that the sign needs repainting again.
Yeah,
Okay,
we've noticed. Mhm.
great. Okay. No, I like the plantings and the trees and everything up so far. For this time of year, it looks good.
Yeah, I appreciate their hard work at doing that,
Yes.
so it does, it looks much better, so. All right, any other comments on that? We'll move on. I need your thoughts for what we're gonna put in the annual report. So we need to kind of brainstorm on that right now. Claire?
I think we need to start with a list of the accomplishments, and a big one is obviously the planning and completion of Johnny Diamond Park. And then maybe look at some of the ongoing projects and when we first talked about it and where they are in the process. And then maybe plans for the future, which sounds like maybe a Morneau Park might be one of the plans for the future.
Okay, anyone else have something you want to throw in at this point?
Just a quick note on Claire's comment and what Brian and Ann talked about earlier on the Morneau property. One thing that I'm not sure that everybody's aware of, the city takes over control of the full property on January 1st, 2023. Therefore, we have 2 years to plan and get it ready. So on January 1st, 2023, it'd be really exciting to jump in and start doing things. So I kind of like to see us, work in that direction. So just food for thought.
Okay, anything else on what we've accomplished this last crazy year? I mean, Johnny Diamond was a big one. So, but there's also been smaller park improvements.
Yeah, Mary, I think that the work parties are important because our work parties were pretty consistent. Maybe the number of work parties we had just for park upkeep and improvement would be good.
I agree. Okay, anything else? Anything for future? Anything that's ongoing that's not been completed?
Wasn't there a mention in the email about a park bench near the flag area? Is that part of the parks situation or is that something different?
I'll get to that when down towards the bottom.
On that donation. Okay.
Yep.
Yep, Claire.
Mary, with COVID, I've had a whole lot of extra time on my hands. So I went back through the minutes and looked at all the projects that we discussed. And if the group's okay with it, I think I emailed you part of that list of ongoing things. So, if I can kind of go over them real quick, or I can just email it to Mary and she can include it. It's up to the group.
Why don't we do that for the sake of brevity here? And I will throw out this opportunity for the rest of you. If you think of something that you want included on that, either something that's been accomplished, something that's ongoing, or something for the future, I would appreciate it if you would just email them to me, and I'll do what I've done before, which is try to compile it and then send it out and get your feedback on that before we turned in. Yes, Colleen.
How soon do you want that?
Well, sooner the better. Usually I wrap it up and send it to City Council so they can have it for their work session in January. And I don't know if they have a date for that. I don't know if it's even going to happen or if it happens virtually. And do you have a date when
Yes, their retreat will be on February 6th, I believe.
Okay.
Saturday, February 6th.
All right, so the council retreat is then, so it definitely need it to Sammy by the end of January, I would assume, so she can get it in their packets ready for me.
So we need it on, no, if you can, we're trying to provide a binder at least 2 weeks prior to that. And we
Okay,
put everything in the binder. So if you can by the 15th of January, if you can't by the 22nd. How about that?
we'll put down the 15th. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. All right. Bike Hub. Well, Claire and I met with Larry. You want to share what we did or didn't learn?
Yeah, we did meet with Larry, and I guess I just need some clarification. I think that there was a misunderstanding somewhere along the road. Am I correct in remembering that, and I can't remember who, somebody said that we needed to get with him because there was a bike kiosk nearing completion and ready to be placed?
No, so there is a regional wide grant that has multiple projects, and Coburg's project is one of them. Coburg's project is funded for $38,000. There is not a plan for it at this point. There are very specific things that have to be included in it. And gosh, I will forward you and Mary. So I did a progress report for the main streets on the bike kiosk because I gathered a bunch of information from the region. And I just wanted to get it recorded. So I'll send that to you and Mary so that you can see it. But basically, there's a time that we have to get it done in. But there is not a plan right now, but there is specific things that they asked that were placed in it. And it's natural things that would be.
Just to clarify, Claire, I was told that you needed to talk to Larry as soon as possible. Go ahead, Claire.
Yeah, we did go talk to Larry and he was totally in the dark. He is, I think, Joe, through Chamber and through the group that, is it the Main Street plan or something where everybody has kind of chosen a project. And so he's interested in being a part of that, but that's as far as he's gotten and he hasn't done any research. So what Mary and I shared with him was a little bit of the U of O graduate student project where they came up with the different ideas. And I found my notes on that. So I think I've got most of what they recommended. And we talked about the fact that, you know, we didn't have to pick a project. We could put pieces that those were ideas. And I guess that I don't feel like it's necessarily Parks needs to step in and take this on because I think that other group is doing it. But I think that whoever is spearheading that needs to know that they can come to Parks, I would think, and we'll work with them and give input. But I don't think as a Parks member, I want to take on the whole bike thing.
I think the most important thing about the Parks and Trees Committee was where it was going to be placed. I think that was the key of having you and Mary kind of involved. Isn't that right, Ann?
So the background of the Main Streets is that there are these projects that they hope that there's a committee behind each project and of at least 5 people. So the person that's the chair of the project is supposed to go out and find at least 4 other people that will work with them to push the project forward. So I believe, and I might be wrong, but I believe that when the chief asked you to participate, he was asking you to kind of be on that bike committee, the 2 of you.
For Main Street.
So, or that was the understanding And I might be wrong, Joe, correct me if I'm wrong, but
No, that's what I remember. And let's go back 2 years when we first started. The car show was going to build a utility bike rack exchange station to pump tires and work on them and put tools and all that. And it was Larry's idea, and he pursued it and followed it. The ball got dropped. It just came back about 6 months ago, and then we picked it up under EDCs and brought it over to Main Street. So yes, it is a line item on the project because I've been pushing it since Claire decided that she liked the idea. At least we have somebody involved and she's done a little research on it. But if Larry isn't stepping up to the plate, we'll go back to the Main Street and whoever's in charge of that committee, because I know it was one of the line items. We'll get that information and get it to you.
yeah.
There.
I just met with the region because I didn't have any information. So I made an appointment, said, I need to understand the funding behind this project. And what happened was it was a point-to-point project, and then point-to-point went away, and LCOG was handed the management of the project. So I just am trying to share what I know about the project so that somebody can pick it up and run with it.
Good idea.
There.
So when we talked to Larry, he was really surprised because he didn't seem to feel like he was the one spearheading it, but he did have some ideas. And there is no definite plan for a kiosk. There's no, unless there's another group doing it that we're not aware of, there's basically nothing permanent that's been done. It's still in the talking phase, and he's interested, but I don't know that there is a point person right now. So that might be something Joe wants to follow up on.
Yeah, I'll get with Ann and we'll do that because we've got a meeting coming up next couple of weeks. I think the middle of January, we'll have another meeting. So
I think Cheryl Bossport appointed Larry. I don't know that that's sticking.
I kind of remember that conversation, Ann, so I'm sure you're right.
Okay, Karen.
I think that's the truth.
Do we need to figure out where to put it?
At some
that-
point, yeah. We're still a long ways away from that, but yeah, it's something we're going to have to look at and where we want to do it. There's been a few suggestions thrown out when we first talked about it. They wanted to put it down by the pavilion next to the kiosk. And then the conversation came back that it makes more sense to put it down in the Norma Pfeiffer Park next to the restroom so they can use the facilities, have water, and have everything there. And they're not on the main street with garbage scattered all over the road working on bicycles. You know, I think it's a little bit off the main drag. So that was kind of the thought when we were talking about it. But open to anything, any suggestions, whatever ideas, we'll throw them in the pool and see what we can do with them. Claire.
Do you want me to, I can type up the notes from that presentation from the U of O. Do you guys have those? Jeff was a part of that, and there should be a recording of it somewhere, but I don't know where it would be, Ann. But if you don't have the recording, I found my notes. I could type up the gist of what each team presented.
That would be great. We
That
do have a recording, but the notes would be very helpful. if
Yep,
you have
I agree.
that. Amazing.
Let's take it going forward on it. They may want to watch those videos because they were informative. You know, there's ideas that can be picked out of those, but I appreciate that. Claire, if you do that, that'd be great. Okay. All right. So we'll see what happens with this when you have your meeting and get back to us on it then, Joe. All right. Donation of the bench, Brian.
So I included in your packet the email from Destiny Haworth. I think it's Haworth. Is that right, Joe?
Yes.
I said that right? Okay. Her husband passed away last year, early December. He was a vet. He was wounded overseas. The injuries actually ended up what took his life. And it was kind of a sudden thing. But she wanted to have a bench donated. She wanted it in Johnny Diamond Park to begin with. And I, after speaking with her, her husband was a vet. And I think that the most appropriate place would have been to put it by the memorial flag. and she agreed. So what we'd like to do is, and we do have somebody that's willing to donate the funds for the bench. I just wanted to make sure that you guys, that this is the right avenue to take a donation like this. And then we just move forward. So the classic car show is going to be donating the funds. So what we'll do, Joe, is if you want to donate, I want to say that it's going to be around $500 for the bench, the materials. Public Works will put the bench together and install it. We were thinking somewhere in the area directly across from where the flag is, sitting facing north. So if you were sitting on the bench, you would be facing the flag.
Makes good sense. I like that. Yeah. Just once you get a total price, let me know and I'll get a check cut right away.
Okay. And then we'll run that through the donation
Yes.
in the budget like we set up.
Sounds good.
Claire?
Brian, when you look at placement, I know that, you know, the roses are on one side of the flagpole and that's a really nice area. That other side is mostly weeds and stuff. So I don't know if maybe on the left side of the flagpole, you know, looking at the flagpole, it might take up some of that space that is just kind of dead ground.
Yep. And normally, Claire, I would agree, but here in the next few months, we're going to be running that basically redesigning of that memorial area through Parks and Trees and trying to get that grant done. And then I think we would be relocating it again at that point. So if you guys think that's a better spot for it, we can definitely place it over there to where it's kind of facing the flag. If that's what you guys feel.
Maybe we wait until the design for the around the flagpole is done before you.
That's just
decide
what I
where
was going to
put
say.
it.
Yeah, I like that idea. Let's see what the design is going to be and see where it fits, Brian.
Okay.
And then my other question would be, since Public Works is going to make the bench, is it going to be similar to what's down in Johnny Diamond?
Yes, that's correct.
Could I make a suggestion on that you make those just a tad bit wider?
Oh, you mean wider than 4 feet?
Well, wider, longer, however, yeah.
Okay. I follow you. Yeah, Mary, we can
So
certainly
I've heard
do that.
some comments about people that they're a pretty small bench. So I was just thinking if you wanted to set a family on there, it'd be dropping a couple people off at the end. So
Okay.
so it
Longer.
looked like the framework would support it. So,
Yeah. It would. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they
Longer
have
bench.
5 and 6 footers.
so.
Yep.
Okay. Anything else?
And you guys are okay with the verbiage that she had on there? I know that you probably don't care what the plaque actually says. I just wanted to make sure that you guys are all in the loop on this bench.
Yes, my thought is that's up to her.
Okay.
So,
That's
All right.
great. Very nice.
okay.
And it will say donated by.
Yes, it will. That's
Perfect.
correct, Joe. Yep.
Okay. Anything else? Yes, Claire.
Sorry, feel like a broken record. When I went through the minutes and came up with some of the projects, I ended up doing a form and we don't need to do anything with it tonight, but could we put just project updates as a permanent part of our agenda? And then I can bring the forms and share them at the next meeting and we can see, you know, if we want to use this kind of a process or if you know, whatever. But what I put on the form was it has a project and the name of the project, and then the date we first decided we wanted to do it, and then discussion points, which are updates as to where we are in the process. And I thought if each project has a form, the one thing I noticed that we don't have is we don't have a person in charge of project. There isn't a point person on the committee that's following through. And I thought maybe we might want to think about each project having a point person that, you know, follows up on it. And then at each meeting, kind of look at our projects and decide where they are, if we want to continue them, if it's something we're not interested in. Because it seems like we have a lot of things we talk about and then they hang out there for an awful long time. So I'll bring that to the next meeting. Hopefully it'll be in person, be a little easier. If not, I'll email it to Mary and maybe tech wizards can figure out how to get it on the screen for the rest of you.
And it may very well help when we get ready to do our annual report too. So, did you have a question, Brian?
No, I was just crossing my fingers that we can meet in person, but we can, just so you guys know, we have the capability of doing share screens. So the host can, if you have information, that's kind of like when I emailed everybody and said, if you have more handouts, get it to me. We do have the ability to put it up on the screen for you guys to see.
Okay, perfect.
It might be a little out of my wheelhouse, but I'll try and make it work.
Well, I mean, this is working tonight. We're all a little awkward with it, but this is great. I'm glad that at least we could meet and not have the committee sitting idle for another month. So, all right. There's nothing further. The dates that we'll look at are January the 12th for the city council meeting and the 19th for Park and Tree Committee meeting. And I assume we'll still keep those meetings next year at 6 o'clock. That seems to be a workable time for everybody. And looking ahead, I approached Dan to see if she would kind of come back and help us go through a rundown on Johnny Diamond in February. I think that might be a better time to do it, maybe in February. Does that sound good, Ann? So, so you might want to kind of, put some thoughts together, if it comes to mind, so that when we go through that, it's a good learning situation. Yep, Claire.
Are we going to do the debrief as a work session instead of part of our regular meeting?
Yeah, but we'll have a work session on it in February before the meeting.
Okay.
Yes.
And we need to do elections next month. We don't need to nominate tonight, do we?
Joe's saying no, but
All
elections
one
in,
setting.
Yep, I think it's in
Elections in-
January we do that.
it's January, and I didn't remember that we'd made the nominations ahead of time, but yay! So they'll have a new chair next year, so.
Dreamer.
All right. If there's nothing further to come before the committee, we have a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
All right, second. And second, Karen seconded. All right, so it's been moved and second. We adjourn this meeting. So that is the Park and Tree Committee wrap for this month. So I wish
Good job, guys.
wish you all a very Merry Christmas, and thanks for tuning in. And I'll look forward to all those little tidbits you're going to send me for the annual report. All right. Thanks,
All right,
everyone.
have a good holiday, guys.
Merry Christmas.